Hello, everybody. My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And on today's show, I'm pleased to have the head coach of the co-op Cromwell Portland football program, who is coming off of having their state championship, defeating Bloomfield. Randell Bennett is with me. Coach, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me, man. I've been trying to watch a couple episodes to get my mind right.
Well, I know you've been busy as far as, with practices and such. You and I were going back and forth with that, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit, Coach. Before we get into that, I know you were telling me, because I was asking, how long have you been with Cromwell Portland? You said since the beginning. You played,
right.
You left for college, you came back, you've been there, coaching ever since. And just kind of talk to me about that, Coach, because it really kind of shapes, really, in a lot of ways, the winning the championship last year was the icing on the cake. But building that cake sounds like it started for quite some time.
Yeah, man. Going back to the beginning, man. Coach Morello, I remember our first year going varsity. We were JV for 2 years, and we played Rocky Hill at the end of the second year in a varsity game, and we won our first varsity game. And I remember the next year being like, "Who's our Rocky Hill this year?" And he said to me, "Every game is our Rocky Hill, Randell." And we just prepared. And that year we went undefeated until we ran into Ansonia in the state title game. A good friend of mine, Kenny Tenney, and those boys, he had a day against us, and they beat us 55-0. And from there, I think the chip on the shoulder was kind of planted, at least in the eyes of guys that played in this program. And when I came back, I just really sought to restore that. And yeah, last year, definitely the icing on the cake for that.
Now, when you left to college, did you play football at school?
Yeah, so I went to Valley Forge Military College. It's a junior college military school in Wayne, Pennsylvania. I went there for 2 years, and then I transferred to Grambling State University. And then I played there too. After that, I had a cup of coffee with the New York Giants, I'll say, and then I had played in the Arena League, bounced around in some indoor leagues for the better part of 4 or 5 years, something like that, before Chris Eckert reached out to me on Twitter one day, asked if I wanted to volunteer at Cromwell, because I used to go back there and train when I was in town. And I think I was just done with my playing days, and I was like, you know what? Like, let's get back in it. And ever since then, man, I've been back here.
It's pretty interesting when people talk about, okay, we're these top prospects as far as college is concerned. They talk about, obviously, the Bamas, the Georgias, but it's really like when you look back at history, some of the best players went to schools that you would never, it wasn't the Power 5 schools. It was non-Power 5, like Grambling State. I remember just hearing about so many kids, young men that were coming out, played in the NFL. I mean, half the NFL was undrafted. And that's just kind of one of those things where, to hear about you going there, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, Coach Spears used to always say, my first coach there used to always say, you're walking on hollow ground. And my first game, we were going to Birmingham. We were playing against Hampton in the MEAC SWAC Challenge. ESPN, right? I was playing at Cromwell High against Ansonia 2 years before this, and now I'm about to go play Hampton on ESPN. And we go to Eddie Robinson's house, and we sing the fight song, and I'm just kind of, he calls me up and introduces me to Eddie Robinson, and I'm like this, I don't know I still don't have words for that situation, right? I'm standing in Eddie Robinson's living room. But to say, I mean, just walking the halls there, you'll see Everson Walls, on the, Doug Williams, James Shaq Harris, some of the new players that, had good careers in the NFL, Jason Hatcher. I mean, there's just the list that goes on. You'll walk in the guy and see guys there, and you'll be like, who is that again? And then it's like, it's funny to me because at Cromwell, it's like I'm one of the biggest players here, right? I was on the first team. I played at Grambling State of all schools, right? And then it's like, if I go there, it's not really the same effect, right? I didn't have that effect on that program there. You know, when you walk in and then Doug Williams comes walking in, and it's like, man, these guys are legends for real. Like, have done so much for the game, and I'm just so happy that I've shared those, you know, those moments with those people there. Um, yeah, just changed my life. Changed my life. Trying to give that back to Cromwell now.
And hey, man, I mean, I think I would say you have and you will continue to do that, man, for what you do both on and off the field for these young men. I'm sure they look up to you. I want to hit on the fact of, you mentioned you had a cup of coffee with the Giants for a little bit. Just, I understand it was for a short time, but that must have been like, what you just talked about with Grambling State, being able to walk through the halls and see these names. Now being in camp, did you feel like you kind of had that same effect a little bit to that?
I didn't even make it to camp. Like just being there up through the summer and just being there through workouts and stuff.
Okay.
I was so young, man. I was 21, and I was shocked when I got to Grambling, you know. And then you got to think I came out in 2008, so the Patriots were 18-0. They lost to the Giants in February. I was with the Giants by May. You know what I'm saying? So walking in and seeing Eli Manning on my first day was a different kind of. It was like I can't even talk to him right now, right? Like I was just like, you see what this guy just did? Like, you know what I mean? I'm a fan at the end of the day, right? I'm big enough to play, right? But just being in awe of some guys and, you know, doing my workout and, you know, Coach Gilbride and Coach Coughlin, just being there, like just being around guys that you only see on TV sometimes, it's just like, man, like, yeah. It just never thought I would be here, man. Cromwell didn't have football my freshman year.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And now it's like we played JV for 2 years. I was a JV player, and then all of a sudden it's like you're walking into these places, and it's like, man, yeah, yeah. It's still crazy when I think about it. You know,
Now, were you on offense or defense?
I played on a offensive line.
Offensive line.
Um,
Okay. So
yeah,
you never had. And now, if I remember, I think the Giants had Justin Tuck and some of those boys. Did you ever have a chance to go up against them, or was that not possible?
nah, I never went up against any of those guys. I did though on my first day. I remember we were doing some drill,
Hmm.
and I start kicking, and I'm kicking back, and coach was getting on me. It's like, you kicking too slow now. We got Michael Strahan coming off the edge over here. It's those moments that's like, all right, yeah, right.
That's
So
so funny to hear. Like, you know what? You're going a little bit, like you said, you're kicking a little bit too slow. Strahan's like a you know what over there. So when he's
right,
coming in, especially on the bull rush,
right, yeah, yeah. You don't want to see
no, I mean,
that.
I think a lot of quarterbacks can say the same exact thing. We didn't
Right.
want to see that, but we did anyway. That is really cool, Randall, to be able to hear that. And just like you mentioned, 2 years of JV and then go to Grambling, get the cup of coffee with the Giants. It really kind of puts things in perspective and really, I think, makes the story of who you are. Now,
Right.
we're going to get to, your time now with Cromwell Portland. You mentioned how someone reached out to you via Twitter and said, hey, why don't you come back and coach a little bit?
Hmm.
How, during that early portion of you coaching, did you feel like that, you know what? I feel like I can make this into a career. I can really do something going forward with this.
I think the biggest thing I started to see, especially early, were players that reminded me of myself. It wasn't like when I left Connecticut, I was this super seasoned offensive tackle, right? Like it, you know, my first day at Grambling, I remember I went against David Hicks, who ultimately ended up going to the Chiefs. You know what I mean? And he was a guy that was, you know, 6'2", 240, ran 4.4, and he was like a hybrid outside backer DN. Well, it's 2 minute drill, and he's coming off the edge against me. I've never seen anybody like that. You know, for as good as Antonio was, they didn't have that coming off the edge. You know what I mean? So to just kind of get my eyes open to the game, that was the biggest thing that I wanted to give back. You know what I mean? To be able to give our guys that perspective of what's really out there. You know what I'm saying? Because here we can't play football all year. You know, the winter comes, you got to go inside, you play basketball, you know, guys play baseball, they play lacrosse. They take time here. Down there, it's football all year round for some of those guys. So when they're playing during the season, then they're off season, they go straight into training for football, even if they are doing another sport. You know, that's something that's not necessarily in our culture here. And I think those are the things that separate some guys, unless you just have freak natural ability, right? Like a guy like Saquon Barkley comes out, right? Like he can run, he's strong, he can do all these things. Like, okay, you got that. But if you're talking about the average person, right? Are you just a football player? You got to work at it, right? A 4-3 helps, but regardless, you still got to work at it. You know what I mean? And I feel like until we start to get in like those areas, right? And those are the areas that I'm trying to get my team to go, right? Where we're training, we're thinking about it. We have to approach it in a way that says, okay, I need to always be taking an advantage because the guys over there are gunning for us. You have to remember that, right? You going like this or you going like this. You're not just sitting in the middle. You're getting better or you're getting worse.
No, I agree with that. I remember my college coach because I played baseball all the way through college, and he told me every day that, every day you're getting older and you're either getting worse or you're getting better. And if you're
Mm,
getting better, you're fighting off the young cats who are
right.
younger than you and are fighting for your spots. Or if
Mm,
you're getting worse, then you're losing your opportunity or your spot to a younger cat or even somebody your age who just is working harder than you. So I do agree with you 100% with that, coach. Now, you were telling me how you were named head coach, I think, what did you say, 2017, correct?
17, yep.
2017. So when I think about how last season, like I mentioned, was the icing on the cake, but to get to that, there was a lot of stuff to go into that. Do you feel like the years up until that point was kind of it was building up to that? Was there any sort of inclination like, hey, we could have something here? We just have to do a couple tiny things, couple tweaks.
We had in my 4 years as a volunteer, the first year our quarterback was hurt. Like I say, probably middle of the season. We ended up going. We started 4-1. We ended 4-7. Next year, our quarterback moves. We got a new quarterback. We go 6-5. Year after that, we go 8-2. Year after that, we go 10-2. Make it to the semifinals, lose to Ansonia. So now that we've seen what it is, it was like,
Mhm.
okay, now I take over as head coach, and I'm thinking we'll just pick up right where we left off. We're here. We're at this level now, and then we go 8-2, miss the playoffs, 9-2, losing the first round, and then we went 2-8. That's when this current senior class was freshmen. So I think the 2-8 year gave us the hard reset, the ability to say, okay, we have the opportunity to do it from scratch, right? We can take what we like from the system that we have from Coach Eckert, Coach Posey, all those guys that were helping us out. CT, Chris Theriault, who's the D coordinator over at Bristol Eastern now. We can take what we learned from them and now just branch off of those trees, right? Like, let's go out, let's get better, let's learn, and then we can just make it better. We have these guys coming back, Cole, Rozick, Ray Boudreaux, Ben Fagan. We had 7 freshmen earn varsity letters that year. So, and then you had Eddie and Brunk, who were sophomores, and Ethan Philbrick, who's a sophomore. So you had a solid core, and it was like, take your lumps. You guys aren't supposed to win right now. That's how I was explaining. We just got to keep getting better. And then the COVID year was really the blessing in disguise, because these guys got to go from, being basically student athletes to just athletes, because they're either remote learning, so they don't have to leave the house, and then they can go train and do whatever they need to do. And that's when you started seeing guys really making strides, because the college guys are home, so they're helping them work on their stuff. We got Bryce Carsetter, who's a captain at Western New England. Kevin Hinkle and Ismar Kandick, who are seniors over at Endicott. Jarius Bailey just graduated. He's on the staff now. He just graduated from WestCon. Kyle Martin's another guy. So we had a bunch of college guys that were around and willing to help out and, impart wisdom on these guys because they just went through it. And that just really took us to the next level. It went from, Teddy and his brother to all of a sudden we had 15 guys showing up to get this extra work. And now, I had 42 guys, and that's a good chunk of my team right there that's showing up to get extra work. We had a solid core and foundation. That's why I think I could tell early that we were going to be able to have some success.
And it showed, Coach. I mean, beyond the fact of not losing a game, I mean, there was a couple of games where they were considered close. I mean, the most points you gave up, I think, was 21 to Rocky Hill. And then for you to not only handle the last two teams you played, but one team I know in the NVL pretty well in Ansonia, the way that you were able to handle them and then Bloomfield, two teams that are perennial Class S, either in the championship or at the very least in the running for it, practically every year. To be able to do that, I mean, did it ever cross your mind either during that run or maybe after? Because I know you're a gamer, but did you ever think to yourself, like, this is happening? And like, I have no words other than I'm just going to watch. Like, did you
Right.
think that?
I think
Because
there
the
was
defense
different
was
points.
legit. The defense was fantastic.
Defense was on point, and the defense is like, I'm so hands off with the defense. I'm like, I trust y'all so much. Like, I don't have any questions or nothing. Just tell me what y'all want to do. But I think after it was like different periods in the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we played HK, because we had the crazy break because of COVID, we had a bye, and then our Brentford canceled, and then we played HK eventually like 3 weeks after the first game. And that was our first home game. So I think we won 41-3, and it was like negative 43. That kind of like put us on the map, right? It was like all of a sudden people are like looking for us now, right? Coach, how you guys doing? And I think at each step, like HK game, Coggins game, it was like we had to focus up, get back to reality. After HK, we played Valley 21-6. After Cog, we played Stafford 14-6. You know what I mean? It's when it's a lot of emotions and stuff wrapped up in games like that, it's like it's hard to have two big games back to back. You know what I mean? And playing two tough games. That's why my hat goes off to those guys, because they found a way versus a tough Stafford team. I text Brian Mazzone after the game. I said, man, you always have those boys ready. You always have those boys ready. So we can't sleep when we got to play. Thank God they're not on the schedule this year, right? But they're in Double S, so we'll probably see them in the playoffs or something like that. So I got to get my mind right? But I sat there and I just looked at, a player like Teddy and Brunk, who would just will us, didn't matter, never complain, might limp for 2 or 3 seconds, and then it's fine, and then just go back. Just natural tough guys like that. And then our quarterback is just 4.0 student, man. I just throw the offense at him, and he just finds a way to get it done. So, yeah, these guys they're amazing, man. They've responded to everything that we said, all the things I was listening before about, like, you need to be like this, and you need to carry yourself this way. You need to approach the game like this. They're willing to do. And that's like the biggest thing, because it's like, if you're willing to do it, you see what the results can be, right? So, yeah, that if you watch the post game, man, you see my eyes are puffy, man. We weren't getting much sleep. We were not getting sleep. Ansonia on Sunday, Bloomfield on Saturday. It was like, enjoy it for 2 or 3 hours, and we got to get back to work. I think I watched every single game Bloomfield played, and Ansonia. Like, every single game.
But you know what, Coach? It was stuff that needs to be done, because I can't tell you how many times I see coaches when I'm broadcasting games. If it's the Naugatucks, there's always somebody from Ansonia. If I'm at Ansonia, I see people from Holy Cross. I see
Right.
Naugatuck. I see Seymour. It's one of those things where it's like it's a chess match. You're trying to find the one crack in the armor where Naugatuck found it against Ansonia on Thanksgiving. You found it against Ansonia and Bloomfield. You put in the work, coach, and it showed with a championship. And it's one of those things where it's a story. I hope one day it's written as a story that season, but I think there's many more great things to come out of this program, and it's really cool, coach. Really cool.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. We appreciate it. We have this weird like homegrown thing where I think outside of two coaches, 5 of our 7, we all played at Cromwell. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, man. We got our AD is a Cromwell alum. It feels good seeing all these Cromwell people back and people want to help out. And we just had our golf tournament. It was sold out 3 weeks early, and it's good to see that the team is able to bring like segments of the town back together. You know what I mean? With COVID was a rough time for us, and it's good for us to be that. With you guys worked hard, and look at all this happiness you guys have brought to the town. So yeah, we're excited, man. We're excited for the future. Ready to see what Double S has for us. Yeah, man, I'm fired up. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't blame you, coach. I mean, the season's only a couple weeks away. First games, I think, are September 9th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, depending on when you play.
For the 8th.
Yeah, for you guys.
6 p.m. Whiteout versus Morgan, Pearson Park.
Hey, hopefully I'm sure there'll be a lot of people there, coach, and it's going to be another fantastic season for you guys in particular, but for football itself, because it will be back. That's when this state really gets rocking because people just love football. Coach, I appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun, and hopefully I can have you back on sometime in the near future.
I appreciate it, man. Look forward to coming on anytime, man.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. That'll wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. Remember, CT stands for Connecticut Talent. I'm our Jerry. Find them all. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and be well.